Hello, viewers. We are once again back with Dr. Pritha Ghosh. I had previously recorded a video which has been widely watched, which was speaking practice for an English exam named Occupational English Test. And I'm very happy to announce that Dr. Pritha Ghosh has received the good news that she has passed Occupational English Test today. So congratulations, Dr. Pritha Ghosh. I
Thank you.
remember making a video where we had discussed your success in MRCS not that long ago, and today we are going to discuss your success in Occupational English Test. Congratulations.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
so without further ado, for the benefit of the viewers, could you please describe the experience on the day of the exam, starting from your departure from your residence and description of the venue, the different parts of the exam, the pre-exam procedure, how much time it took for the exam, and then finally, how much time you had to wait to receive the result, how you received the result, and what constitutes requisite marks for the purpose of General Medical Council registration. Okay.
All right. Well, the exam, on the day of the exam, I reached an hour ago before the exam started. My exam was from 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I reached there by 12. I was pretty early. So there's this security check that you have to go through. You're not, there's a detailed security check that they do. You're not allowed any kind of things into the exam center. So I went there. I received the locker there where I had to keep all my belongings. I did that. I got the locker key, and then I went into the area where there are different computers, and there are people not only giving OET in that hall, there are people giving various kind of exams on that day. So there is a detailed check where they check if you have any kind of electronic devices on you or anything. They check your ID. They ask you to say all the details that are there on the ID to make sure that yes, it is you and you're not impersonating anybody else. And then you're not allowed to even go back to your locker. So any kind of water, any kind of snacks is also not allowed. They had told me before only. So yes, that's how it all started. It was pretty quick. I mean, they are very experienced, you can say. I mean, there was no haphazardness in the process. It was very quick and they were very professional in it. So I started my exam a bit early because I reached early and all kind of checks and everything had been done. So I started by 12:30 or 12:35 around. So I got my computer and then I started the exam. The exam was about 3 hours. My time was from 1 to 4 o'clock, but since I started early, it ended early. So there are three sections, as we all know, actually four sections in OET. One was from home because I gave the OET on computer. So my speaking was later on. I had scheduled it after a week of the computer test that I had booked. So we have listening, reading, and writing, which is done on the computer, which can be given on paper as well, but I booked it on computer. So on the exam day, I gave the listening, the reading, and the writing exam. So the listening part is of 40 minutes approximately. So they start with listening part A, B, and C, and then they go on to the reading part A, and then you get a 10 minutes break, but you cannot leave your chair or your seat. You have to be seated there. So you can start the exam before 10 minutes. If you need a break, you can do it with it. That's the only break that's been allotted to you. So that's what happens. So reading part has, again, ABC. That is around 1 hour and writing is around 45 minutes.
So did you take the break?
No, I did not take a break. I took around 2 or 3 minutes. And then I was like, since I could not get up from my chair and go anywhere else, so I was like, why not just finish it off? So I did not take a break.
So the exam starts with listening.
Yes, the part starts with listening, then it goes on to reading and then writing.
And because you were taking OET on computer, so the speaking test was arranged on a video call, which you could arrange on the same day or a different day, but you chose to arrange it 7 days later.
Yes.
Could you please describe the listening part of the test? Did you have to wear headphones?
Yes, for the reading, you get a pair of
Listening.
headphones that,
Listening.
yeah, listening. Yes, sorry, did I say writing? What?
You
I'm
said
sorry.
reading.
Oh, sorry. For the listening, part A, you get a headphone that's there inbuilt, the ones that they have there. So they help you with that to set it up because it starts with listening. And then there's listening part A, listening part B, and listening part C. So the A is one where you listen to a short conversation between a doctor and a patient. Basically, it's a clinical scenario where you hear people talking to each other, and you have this like fill in the blanks where you have to write the words which you hear. And basically, there's a lot of paraphrasing that is there. You might not see the exact thing written over there, what you hear, so you have to listen very carefully because even if you miss one point or at one point where you're very distracted, maybe you're thinking, oh my God, what was the previous answer? Then you're going to forget all the rest of it and then you're going to make a mistake. So you have to be very much concentrating on what they're saying. So that's the listening part A. Then goes the listening part B, where there are 6 questions, where you have short six conversation between people going on for 6 such questions, different conversations for 6 questions. Like one might be a two nurses talking together, one might be where a doctor is talking to a patient, or the other might be a healthcare professional. Each audio you hear, you have question, which is a multiple choice question, and you have to mark the right answer after you hear according to the question that you. And part C is where you listen to a whole big lecture, maybe, or an interview. And while you're listening, you have 6 questions, as far as I remember. And while you're listening, you have to keep answering the correct, whatever you feel is the correct answer. So that's how it is. So for part A and B, you can read the questions that's there. For B also, before every question, you get time to read the question before you hear the audio. I'm sorry. For C, you just get a minute and a half to read all the questions that's there. And in between, you do not get any more time. You just have to keep listening. And again, if you have to read, you have to do it simultaneously. So the hardest part is C because there's a lot of paraphrasing. I mean, you might feel like you're into that English literature class again. And I was terrified of this section, but thank God somehow I made it through. So I'm very happy.
Okay, so what about reading and writing? How was your experience with that?
Yes, so reading, in reading you get a lot of time, so that's a good thing. And for the part A is that one part where you will get around 15 minutes. The whole thing is a 45-minute thing, but just for part A, you will get 15 minutes, and the rest 30 minutes that are left. I think 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yes. So the rest 30 minutes are you have to divide it yourself for part B and C. So you will not get a reminder. So you have to clock yourself accordingly for part B and part C. All right. So in part A, there's a lot of hurry because there's a big paragraph. You have 4 paragraphs there. And then within that 15 minutes, you just have to swift read it and then find the words. You have to fill in the words. You might want to write a few phrases. So part A becomes a bit hasty, but if you can actually manage it, there's no place to go wrong in it because it's like fill in the blanks as well. But the mistake where people do, I feel, is B and C because there's again in part B, you have short paragraphs with each question regarding that paragraph. So you have different paragraphs in B where you have to pick the correct answer. So that's where there's a lot of paraphrasing and I think internal meaning kind of thing where people might not get the correct thing and it's pretty tough there sometimes. So that's where people go wrong because there are few answers where I thought I was pretty sure about the reading part that okay, I'm good with it, but after seeing my scores, I was like it was otherwise. I don't know what happened. So that's what happened with me. So in C, in part C, is there's again a big paragraph, around 7 or 8 paragraphs you have to read together, and then you have questions regarding that paragraph. But the good part in part C is that they will mention which paragraph, like in this paragraph, what was the author saying, what is his view regarding that. So at least you do not have to skim or read or find what and where thing is. So that's one good thing there in part C.
So reading part A is speed reading, and reading part B and C is in-depth reading, understanding and everything.
Yes, right.
And what about writing? People say writing is the most difficult part.
No, I did not have a problem with the writing. I was never concerned with writing. You just have to be grammatically correct. That's all they see. And if you can focus on the purpose that is there, that's most important. Just the, I mean, it's quite often, how do I say that? It's quite not objective, subjective, where you might feel that this topic is important, which has to be included into it. But I don't think they mark you on that a lot. The purpose, if you can explain the purpose pretty well in your first line and the paragraph which describes your purpose, if you do that well, I don't think there's any place where you can go wrong if you don't have a lot of spelling mistakes or a lot of grammatical mistakes. So that's what I would say about
So
writing.
that is an important point. People are very scared of writing. So in writing, if I remember correctly, there is something called you should include everything that is relevant and exclude everything that is irrelevant. But
Yes,
often there is a doubt regarding what is relevant and what is irrelevant. In that case, it is always better to include something that may have been irrelevant rather than to
yes,
exclude something which may turn out to be relevant. But of course, you have
yes,
to adhere to the word limit and the structure of the letter. It usually is a
yes.
discharge letter or a transfer letter or something like that. Or referral letter? What did you have?
I had a referral letter.
Okay.
Uh, so I think the patient, I think it was a child. So she was recently diagnosed with SLE, and then I had to refer her to a child, I mean, a pediatrician for further diagnosis and confirming the treatment.
Okay.
Sorry, confirming the diagnosis and
Yes, yes.
providing.
Pediatrician or rheumatologist?
No, it was a child pediatrician as well,
Okay.
the head
Okay.
of the department of certain
Yeah, so
hospital
I
as well.
believe that is one of their favorite diseases because I also had a similar question. So then, after these 3 sections, you went home.
Yes, I went
And
home because yes, I went home. So the thing, why did I book my speaking test later after a week? Because initially I wanted to focus only on listening, reading, and writing. So the last week I had a lot of time to focus on speaking and going through a few videos that are there available online
Hmm.
and practice some speaking. So that's why I scheduled it a week later.
How was your speaking experience?
Speaking was pretty good. It was fine. It was not
What
that
what time of the day did you schedule the video call?
Mine was Indian Standard Time, 11 o'clock. So it's about 20 minutes and 10 minutes to get oriented. So it was from 11 to 11:30. So
Okay.
I was done by 11:25.
And there is another ID check and room check, all that is there.
Yes, yes. It's exactly like the MRCS, ENT OSCE, the non-man stations like you have, where they check all your room, they check your ID. They also ask you to show your pockets and everything, just like that. So
And the only acceptable identity document is the passport.
yes, yes, right.
Okay.
No,
How?
it's not not passport. And while I was filling up the OET form, they said any government ID card is okay,
Okay.
but if it's
Okay.
a passport, it's preferable.
Hmm.
And you have to show that ID only with which you booked your
Yes.
exam
Yes.
during the exam.
So
So
did you
that's
use passport?
I used a passport.
Okay. And how was the speaking experience?
Speaking was it's I wouldn't say it was very tough. They give you straightforward scenarios. They give you 3 minutes to read the scenario. So for me, I could see the timer there when I was reading, or also when I was speaking. So that was a good thing. I could like take a just look as how long I have left with me. So I got 3 minutes to prepare, and in that I also had a sheet with me. My interlocutor, the one who was doing the role play, he asked me if I had a piece of paper, and then he said I could use it. So I kept a pen and paper where I jotted down some points that I have. So that did help me a bit. So I got
Right.
some time to read. I had two role plays. Both were like one was in the emergency where I had already examined the patient. The other was in the clinic where I had already examined the patient. So it was not where I had to introduce myself, but I mean here the opening, how do you open yourself to the patient because you have already examined the patient. So that was very important in that case. So when I started, I was actually confused. How do I start the scenario? But it went pretty well.
And how long did it, after your exam, did you feel confident about your result?
I was no, actually there was a lot of, as I said, there was a lot of paraphrasing that's done in the reading and the listening part. So by paraphrasing, what I mean is there's a lot of interpretation that you have to do. The things that they say or the things that you hear or read might not be similar to what the questions might be. So you have to take out the meaning by what they're trying to say. So that's quite in depth, I feel. So I was a bit scared about my part C of the listening, but I don't know, somehow my listening turned out to be very good then. I mean, it turned out better than my reading. I was not very confused or scared with my reading, but somehow it became ulta punta.
Okay. So, did you have any trouble understanding the accent of the speakers, the English
No,
accent of the speakers? No?
no. Get
Okay.
around 10 minutes before the exam starts. So there, the interlocutor actually asked me a few questions just to understand what he's saying. So he asked me, why did you want to be a doctor?
Yes.
What do you think makes a person a good doctor and stuff like
Yes.
that? And how long have you been a doctor?
Yes, those are the
So,
standard questions. I also had
ex-
the same questions. What about the listening part? Did you have any trouble with understanding the accent in the listening part?
no,
So,
no.
so the audio
In the
was
list,
crystal clear, everything was fine.
yes, here and the speaker, they actually speak very slowly. So it's not a very speedy
Yes.
audio that you hear. So it's very soft and slow. You can actually focus on every word.
So from the time of your speaking test, how long did it take for you to get your results?
It took me 10 days, exact 10 days.
10 days. And how did you access your result?
They actually sent me a mail. So I checked the mail and then they asked, it was like the mail said that your results have been added to your account. Please log in and check your results. So then I had to log in into my OET account, which I had created while when I was actually applying for the exam. So when I booked the exam, I had to log into that account and then the results were there on the dashboard with all the marks in there.
Okay. So to book the exam, you have to create an account on the official occupational test website and you get the results in the same account. And
Yes.
why did you have to appear in occupational English test?
Well, because occupation English test actually is acceptable in few countries if you are planning to immigrate or settle somewhere outside. So certain countries like USA, or UK, Ireland, Australia, these countries actually accept OET. So without these exams, this exam, you actually cannot get a job there or you cannot settle there if you're planning to work somewhere else outside India.
So you are planning to work in the United Kingdom.
I haven't made anything, I mean, nothing is like fixed yet, but yeah, maybe I would give it a shot if I get better
Okay.
opportunities.
And so you have to demonstrate to the United Kingdom General Medical Council that you are proficient in the use of English language. And what is the
Right.
pass mark for this exam?
You have to, the total marks here is 500 and you have to get a minimum of 350 out of each, which is equivalent to B. So they actually want a B in your score. That's
B for
what they look
Bombay.
at. B for Bombay, right?
Yes. So at least B grade in each of the four parts: listening,
Yes.
reading, writing, and speaking. You should not get less than B, C or worse in any of these parts. If you get C, you have to repeat the entire test, not just that part. Okay. So how did you prepare for this test? How long did you prepare and how did you prepare?
I took around 1.5 months, 1 month, 10 days maybe. I went on to the official OET site, that is a website. There are some sample tests and there are certain uh, test papers that are available. So I practiced from there and then I booked a mock test with some short course on E2 language, which is there. So that cost me around, I think, 50 GBP, I think. I'm not sure exactly, but
E2,
that
I
was
believe, is Australian, so they would probably charge you in Australian dollars.
Yes, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly, but it cost me around 7,000 Indian rupees where I had to book this mini mock test, and also I could access their course materials where they actually describe how do you process with I mean how do you go about with the exam? How do you read the reading part? How do you read it? How do you focus the answers? How do you match the answers? How do you decode the paraphrasing and everything that's there, and listening and writing? So everything there's there. There are sample tests there, a lot of sample tests with answers there. For writing, there are sample answers, so you can match your answers with them. So yes, that's what I did. So
So
it was pretty good.
E2 and occupational English test website. Okay. And what tips would you have for people who might be preparing for occupational English test? Or how much did it cost you to book the test?
It's 34,000 Indian rupees.
Yes, something like that. And what
But it
tips do
did,
you have for people who might be nervous about occupational English test?
I would say if they are, I mean, I don't have any tip as such. It's just that you have to practice a lot. I mean, once you start practicing, you will know where you lack, and the key is to focus on that area. So it's better if they can give a mock test or one or two mock tests and then see where they stand and then focus on that area and keep practicing. Practicing is the most important thing. That's just what I would say.
While you were preparing, which part were you most nervous about?
I was worried about the part C of listening. I was very scared because sometimes you just focus on one part
Yes.
and you don't know when they're moving on to the next question.
Yes.
So I was scared about that part.
So in listening part C, you have to listen, understand, and mark. So three tasks you have to do simultaneously. It's quite challenging. So some people also appear in IELTS for the same purpose. Would you think OET is a better option than IELTS? What made you choose OET over IELTS?
I'll just be honest, I don't have a lot of idea about IELTS and which one is easier and which one is tough, because there are a lot of mixed reviews about it. Some say that IELTS is easier because the depth of paraphrasing is a bit less in IELTS. But I chose OET because anybody, whoever has given the English, whoever I know has given the English test, like you gave OET. So I followed their advice. I did not give anything else. But yes, so I don't know a lot about IELTS, to be honest.
Right. So I hope following my advice is not something you regret.
No, definitely not.
Okay. So was booking the OET a very complicated affair? It was very
No,
straightforward.
no, it's very straightforward.
Okay. And so what are your plans now that you've successfully, so you've obtained the necessary score necessary for registration with the General Medical Council. For General Medical Council registration, you need to prove that you're proficient in English. You need to provide evidence that you have the necessary degrees such as MRCS and of course MBBS degree also. And then some good standing certificate from the medical councils where you've been working for the last 5 years. So now all these steps are complete. What is your next plan? You passed
I,
MRCS fairly recently. I think, when did you pass MRCS?
I passed it in May. I gave my exam in May. I got my results in June.
June, and this is September. So 3 months. In 3 months, you've completed OET. Now, what are your plans after this?
Now, I'll be actually applying for the GMC, but I haven't got my EPIC verification done yet. It's where your primary medical degree and everything is verified by an outside source, somewhere from US, I think. So that's
Yes.
one thing left still. I'll do that, and once I'm done, then I think I'm ready with almost applying for the GMC.
Have you received your membership confirmation letter from the Royal College of
No, I
Surgeons of
haven't.
England?
Oh, no,
So
I've not
you
received.
applied through the Royal College of Surgeons of England,
Yes, I did.
and your results were declared in
June.
June,
Yes.
and this is September. You're still waiting for to receive the membership confirmation letter.
I did. I also recently, about 2 to 3 weeks back, I received a mail saying that whatever amount has to be paid
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
membership and the I did that, and then they said that within 2 to 3 weeks they will be
Yes.
sending me all the
Yes.
details. So I don't know how long that's going to take.
Yes.
Because of all these paperwork, my ethic verification is kind of getting delayed.
Yes. So
So
basically, Royal College of Surgeons of England, in their defense, they get the most number of applicants, so it takes time to process. However, once you made the payment, Once you've passed MRCS, you get this email asking for the payment to register yourself to become a member. And then they, I guess, have an election the next month. So within a month, you get a confirmation that you've been elected as a member of the Royal College of Surgeons of England. And then you get an opportunity to attend the diploma presentation ceremony in person, which is an amazing event. You should definitely go. Okay, so any advice regarding the occupational test preparation?
Just practice, and see where you lack, and then do more practice. I would say that would be enough.
Okay. So there are some people who have repeatedly appeared in occupational English test and are disillusioned with it. Do you have any advice for people who don't seem to understand what to do to pass this exam?
I think then for them, they must take some time and take some online courses that are available. E2 language courses are pretty good. There are like various kind of courses available according to your needs, where you can add, suppose if you're lacking somewhere in speaking, then you can add some more speaking curriculums there, or whichever field, whichever subtest you're lacking, you can do that. That's pretty good. And there are some tips and courses also available on the occupation English test main website, so they can subscribe to those as well. I think maybe those courses will help them. The basic thing is, if somebody already has a good English, it is not going to be very difficult for them. But someone who has a kind of weak English, it's going to be a bit tough. So maybe applying for some courses might help them. That's all I can say.
Do you think somebody who already knows English and is a doctor should choose occupational English test because it focuses on clinical scenarios as opposed to IELTS, which is more
Yeah.
broad-based?
In that way, it actually helps because it's very clinical oriented. So you do not have to focus on a wide English background, I think. So that's,
And
that's
you're also likely to encounter these scenarios when you eventually do emigrate.
yes, right.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pritha Ghosh. Congratulations, and I hope very soon
Thank
you're
you.
done with your EPIC verification, and then we'll make a video about your EPIC verification experience. And I hope you get your GMC registration done as soon as possible, and then we'll talk about your journey to the UK.
Right, sure.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope this benefited the viewers. Okay, bye-bye, Dr. Pritha Ghosh. Congratulations.
Thank you.